Has anyone ever freestyled over the top of this? Because this would be good to freestyle over.
You could always be the first.
The crowd is hyped tonight.
Waiting for everyone to trickle in.
I'm like half a Baja Blast in, so it's gonna be wild.
I never had one of those.
Like, I'm an old guy, so like I grew up with Baja Blast at Taco Bell, and that was the only place you could get it. So now that they put it in a can, I do have to hit the blast once in a while.
I used to work at Taco Bell, so I just had it constantly.
IV.
Yeah, heck yeah.
IV Blast. It's actually what they use at the emergency room for COVID now. It's just straight IV Baja Blast. So.
What is going on, everybody? Today is July 26th, Tuesday. It is currently, what time it is in the world? Let me just check real quick. It is 9 a.m. PST, 11 a.m. Central, 12 p.m. EST, and 4 p.m. UTC. We have one of the best creators in the Sandbox Metaverse. I want to welcome Wayward and Phil.
Okay, after that intro, we're all just going to go home because I can't top that. So thank you very much. I'll see you later.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Sandstorm. We're really happy to have you guys. I'm personally a big fan of you guys, and it was a blast to meet you guys at NFT NYC. Today, we're going to be going over who Wayward is and who is Phil and how it all happened and whatnot. So without further ado, let me just say hi to everyone in the chat. Welcome in, guys. Sparky, Cynthia, Irados, welcome in. Tell your friends we got the famous Wayward and Phil on stream.
We have the famous Wayward and a lot less famous Phil, I think is what it is.
That's not true. That's not true, okay? Alrighty, guys. Let's get you guys started. What's going on? How are you guys?
I was a lot better before we went live.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
it's very
for sure.
It's very cool to be here, and yeah, it's fun to get a chance to talk about Sandbox and Box Edit and all of those things. So
excited to be here.
Wayward I just feel like you're just like one up on stage right now. It's like Wayward was talking about a lot of things and Now she's like all quiet. But Wayward, let's start with you. Who is Wayward?
Wayward is me. I'm Waywardescapades. Everyone, or not everyone, but a lot of people pronounce it wrong. So I think it's just easier to go by Wayward.
Wayward Escapes.
No. Heck. Yeah, no, I've just been working in Vox Edit for like the past year, so it's just been kind of my life.
Yeah, and you do a lot of streaming, and I personally watch your streams as well. You currently do Vox Edit. You build a lot of assets, and of course, we do want to see them during the show. But what did you do before that? What did Wayward do before Vox Edit? There has to be a kind of like
Wayward before the Sandbox. Oh my
yeah,
word.
like I mean, if it's not two thing, right? Were you working in art? Were you working at Taco Bell? Like, what were you doing?
At Taco Bell, yeah. Yeah, no, I was just working like normal jobs and being a mom, and you know, the art was more on the side. Like, if I ever made any money from my art, it was like painting somebody's dog for them, or
wow.
you know, stuff like that. But when I was younger, I did a lot of like 2D animation just for fun, like for me and for my brother. Like we would always, like, he would voice act for it and I would draw things out. But
That's awesome.
You know, you never made money from that. So when I got older and you had to actually spend your time doing things to make money to feed your face,
Right.
you know, I had to get normal jobs and occasionally make money on the side with art, but it wasn't the breadwinner like it is now.
Yeah, definitely. I can definitely relate to that. And you know, I was always an artist, but like I never saw the money potential of it back then, and there was no money potential, right? If you were an artist, you're gonna starve. Like that was the mindset. And now it's like with this new Web3, it's like if you're not an artist, you're gonna starve. So it's like it's completely flipped around, and it's just a great time. But that's a great background. And then you found Sandbox. Was it like originally like beta version or like very alpha version or?
Oh man, so it was a little over a year ago that I had found it. So you know, we didn't have any alpha seasons yet, and like the creator fund was still open. Just my brother had found it actually, and he sent me a link and he was like, hey, you've always wanted to be an animator, like give this a try.
It's like draw the turtle or whatever, right? You guys remember that? The first thing I said made me immediately seem like a super old guy. Back on TV, there used to be this thing where if you could draw this turtle and draw like this pirate, you could get into art school. Like it was like
okay.
I think I have like a vague like fever dream memory of that. Like but yeah, no, my brother had sent it to me and I tried it and I absolutely loved the program, fell in love with Vox Edit. But it was difficult for me at first because I just saw it as I didn't see the whole potential, like making video game assets. I was like, oh, I can make art with this. And I did a lot of I made a lot of things just to look at. But then when I discovered, okay, so game maker adds a whole nother aspect. Like I don't just, or it's not just making like a cool thing to look at, but making a cool thing that you could play as, and like that added a whole nother element to it. I got so excited about it, so I just stuck with it.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely feel you. Like I was working corporate job and I saw Sandbox and Vox Edit, and it was just like, I'm dropping everything I got and I'm putting all my time into this because I don't want to be bored. I just want to have fun from now on until I die. So, and thank you, Sandbox for making that happen. But Phil, before we continue with Wayward, how about you?
Before I die. Yeah, it's funny. Wayward and I worked together for a while. I've worked for 20 years in advertising, making TV commercials, and in that scene, and it was fun. It was great. It's a fun living. I think there's a lot of creative people there, but the last couple of years I had been doing, you know, skateboard art and just like kind of counterculture stuff, weird, silly things, right? A lot of illustration. But then I got into 3D work, and I actually got into Sandbox because of the head of DGK Skateboards. I think his name's Stevie Williams. Sent me a DM on Instagram saying, "Hey, I have land in the Sandbox. I want to do a skate game. Would you help?" And I had no idea what the Sandbox was, and I was like, "Oh, I'm totally into Sandbox." And I'm like literally like Googling it while like I'm DMing with him, and I didn't know him. Like he was out of the blue. And so I ended up doing some like rough tests for him, and then he never responded. I've never heard from him since then. So if he's listening today, thanks for nothing, dude. No, I'm just kidding. But he's super cool, and it was very interesting to have him reach out. But I had voxel art and skateboard art on my Instagram profile, and so then I applied to Creator Fund, thinking, hey, this is a fun way to make a little side cash, and and just sort of put my toe in the water as a freelance artist with no intention of leaving. I was running the production department at like a big US food company. And next thing you know, it's been almost a year and a half. And I quit that job in April. And this is what I do now. Like I walked away from all that, like the pension, the 401k, like the whole, like, hey, this is the simple American white picket. And I was like out the door, time to like, to dedicate to this. And then the market tanked. So that's been exciting. So, it's kept me on my toes, but I met Wayward through, the Creator Fund. We're both in cell. We currently are still in cell 16 of that group. And she was the only person I think who liked farts and burps and diarrhea as much as I did. So yeah, that was like our first conversation was toilet sounds. And then next thing you know, I'm like, we should do a business. And she's like, whatever. And I got very lucky in that I ended up partnering with the I would say the fastest voxel artist I've ever met. Like she is absolutely a unstoppable force in Vox Edit. So it's been a great partnership since we started. So
that is awesome. So you guys met through the Creative Fund. That's so interesting because the concept of the Creative Fund is to have the creatives build for them, and it's like they come together and like, hey, we actually kind of click and let's build our own studio. And it's kind of awesome how it all kind of evolves, right? It's just very natural, and it's just a great space.
We did a couple game jams, and then I think either our first or second game jam we ended up making the top 5, and we were like, oh wait, we're kind of good at this. Like I'm not going to say we're great, but we're kind of good at this. And so we're like, we should do more. And so then I think from there the partnership really worked out well because I think we've got similar like work like styles in that we don't take things too seriously. There's no ego. Her and I only want to work with people that are fun and easy to work with. And at the end of the day, you joke about like having fun till you die, but I think death is like on our radar all the time. Like you need like that grounding of like, things don't matter. Like you just want to enjoy the ride while you're there. And so it's been a good partnership, I think, just because of that, like constant existential dread that's floating through the ether.
I'm like speechless because it's such a nice story and how it all came together. And, I actually met you guys in person and you guys are, I think, just a perfect match to be partnered and working together. And you guys are both not only awesome builders and creators in the space, but also awesome people. And it's nice to see the things that you guys will be doing. There you go. I had to pause there for a second.
Yeah, so now it's all downhill after this. So great. We hit the high point.
Alrighty, guys.
But thanks.
Have a good night.
See you later. No, but it has been fun, and I think what's been interesting is the evolution Sandbox has gone through too, right? Like when we first started, I think Game Maker and Vox Edit were it was a simpler time. But I mean that like as complexity builds and you work through the software, I think it's been a challenge and at times frustrating, right? At the flip side of that, I do think there's so much potential that, even as the market got ugly, I didn't once question, hey, should I stick with this? Should I go back to what I was doing before? Like Web3 is where we're going to end up for sure in the future. How long it takes to get there and the path, I think, is going to be a little bit bumpy, but I'm super stoked. Like I look at Alpha 3 and the new version of Game Maker coming out, and I have a lot of faith and very bullish on Sandbox.
Yeah, and to add to that, we as Sandstorm we know that too, right? We're a Web3 company, and we're trying to bring that like Web2 like legacy company organization into Web3, but more fun. And we're trying to provide capabilities where you and builders and other studios come to Sandstorm or other projects, right? Not just Sandbox, Decentraland. They come to Sandstorm, they find jobs and opportunities where they can make a living off on Web3, because there's no doubt that this is where we will be. Some of us are here now, right? I'm super happy that I was fortunate enough for Slaterade, our production manager, found me and dragged me into stream, and now I'm like handling a lot of stuff in Sandstorm. It's just, I'm so fortunate to be able to get that opportunity, because it's this opportunity that won't come again, right? And
well,
I think
until
it's
Web
the same thing.
4 comes around, or
Right,
Web 5
right.
or whatever the next thing is. Yeah.
But Wayward, meanwhile, do you have? I think we would love to see some of the stuff that you've built, and I think Phil knows. Has recommended some of your assets that wants to show.
Should I pull them up, or like?
Yeah, just do screen share or
don't screen share. Just describe them really in beautiful detail, and if you could just paint the picture.
Sorry, I was distracted for a moment because the maintenance guy came in. He's like, "I'm here to fix your bathroom fan." I'm like, no.
Looks like it's working now. So.
Oh my word! All right,
go away. I'm streaming over here.
Oh my word! All right, give me 1 second. I can't even remember what month I made we were talking about showing off the Commodo Dragon, since we're on the subject of bathrooms.
Yeah, I mean, I can hype you up while you pull up assets, if that's helpful. So it's interesting working with Wayward too, because if you look across, if you look at the loading screen on Alpha 2, like you got like Snoop Dogg and Blonde. Wayward is in it. So she is in the middle, sitting down, right? You can't miss her. She's on the website right now, like on the teaser for Alpha 3. She's got, I think I've seen her do 300 or 400 assets, right, to date, and across 4 Game Maker Fun projects. Her and I've got one, but she works on a ton of Alpacadabra stuff. Touche. She's worked on Monochrome and the Tempest stuff. Like her stuff is everywhere. And so it's exciting. Being in Creator Fund, I think, with her, because I get to see the new stuff that she pumps out every month. This one being one of my favorites. I don't want to spoil it, but it's called the Commodo Dragon. And it is a toilet with plunger feet and shower curtain wings.
Oh man, that is just ridiculous, and it's awesome at the same time. Like, and I think that's what I think this fits your style for both of you, right? This is how you guys feel about like life and art, and it's like it's just a great, I think, representation of what you guys have been describing, and we love what Wayward does on stream, but there's also a lot off stream probably that's going on, right? And this is maybe one of that.
Yeah, I think
look at all those folders. Copy paste it.
Oh my gosh! Like, we've got Pixelton doesn't mind if I show off some of their assets, I'm sure.
Oh my god, poor Cookie. Hopefully he's not. If he's watching, hopefully he stopped barfing.
Oh my gosh,
the poor guy was sick. But Pixelton's another project. Like Pacas is where I spend almost all of my time. That's very dear to our heart. But the side project is an NFT world called Pixelton, which is right in our same sense of humor, right? That's silly, strange, a little bit, a little dark, and very chicken focused. But
yeah,
I'm trying to find these like awesome sound effects while you guys are trying to see if I can find a chicken, but I don't think I have a chicken. The quiz I can do is I could do a goose.
That works.
This was from last night. Did you just make this whole thing yesterday?
Yeah, I don't know how long it took, but yeah. I use VoxEdit to make my like my GIFs for my streams and stuff, which I still need to figure out how to make them work, but at least I'll have a whole bunch. Do you have the present maker or Phil on the throne? Once again, it's just, I think what's interesting about
about Vox Edit is, you know, anyone who's spent time in Magic of Voxel or Voxel Max or in the programs, like it's fun creating the static side of it, but the simplicity of the animation that's added to Vox Edit is really like the attractive part, I think, because suddenly it's not super complicated to rig in a way that, like, as you think about Blender or other places, it can be a pain in the butt. Now, moving assets from Vox Edit to other software is a pain because of the simplicity and the way that Vox Edit is set up. But I do think anyone who's sort of on the fence or thinking, oh, I don't know how to animate or whatever, I would encourage them to give Vox Edit a try, because they do make it relatively straightforward.
Yeah, I've dealt with my fair share of software, you know, from Adobe to other things. And, you know, like I probably used Adobe 1.0 when I was like 12. And, you know, it's, this is just a simple, you know, tool that anybody can pretty much pick up. And, but, you know, as you master it, you get into like more animations and all stuff. But like, this is such a cute asset. I love it, Wayward.
Thank you.
Would you guys be, and of course I want to see, Phil, some of your assets too, because I don't think anybody has ever seen any of the assets that you met, or have you shared any?
Well, I've got all the stuff I've done on all the Creator Fund stuff is up, right? I've only got, it's so funny because I've done maybe a third, if even that, of what Wayward's done. Sandbox has minted, you know, every month they kind of cherry pick one or two of the hundreds that get made. And they mint them. And so I don't know, Wayward's had 3 or 4 of them minted. I've had one, and they picked the weirdest, worst, least marketable thing I've ever made. And I was like, oh, let's mint that. It's literally a gigantic floating Santa Claus head where the eyeballs pop out and find the presents that are there. And then it's this eyeball-less Santa Claus head that's just spinning and floating. And they were like, yeah.
Is it Santa's watching?
Yes.
Okay.
And then if you put it on the naughty list, it's a long animation. It's like 10 or 15 seconds. And then suddenly it pops up, Santa's not real. So, you know, like a thing that I was like, kind of a joke, whatever. Like there's things that have much higher utility that I've made that they, for whatever reason, weren't interested in. But they pick the awful Christmas asset to say, yeah, let's mint that for this guy. So I think I've sold one.
Oh, my word.
You actually sold 2.
I think I gave one to Ukraine for the fundraiser, no joke, and I sold one. So there you go.
I think it's a valuable asset, if you ask me. I want to actually pull it up real quick, Wayward, while you're sharing.
I just stopped sharing.
No, it's cool. You can still share, and we can move it around. It's no worries.
Whatever's
there.
clever, dude.
I tend to like to do really, really big things. And so then Santa's eyes shoot out of his head, and I guess he sees the because he's always watching, right?
Right.
And then they disappear. And like, once again, it was sort of a weird one-off joke thing. And that's what they minted. I mean, if you look under where it says created by Phil, I've got all this other stuff that I think there's things with more utility, things that would be more interesting. But Sandbox curates and picks those, and for whatever reason, they chose that one. So
these are ones you made, right, that are published but are not minted.
Yeah. Yep. And so that's basically
awesome.
how it works is, you know, you do anywhere between 5 to 20 if you're really busy assets a month. And then if you get lucky, every couple months, Sandbox picks one of them to mint. They're all public and people can use them, and they're in the market. There's a whole sci-fi kit that we built, which is really, really cool. Like it's like a package within the cell, so that you could basically grab this package and build out an entire sci-fi game. Every asset is interchangeable. They all match, and everything goes together. But like, you know, I got a pile of barf. You know, I did a Fortnite style bus. And so like,
yeah, I was going to just open that. There's 2 things that I want to just quickly say. One is I've been telling everybody that, you know, has been watching me, that I've been talking to, that how valuable these kits will be once UGC comes live, because I think these will be the most selling assets, because it's just one of those things that can be used by everyone. It can be used at every game, right? Versus that Santa, right? You just need a Christmas theme, and it'll be just in this one spot, and that'll be it. But this, you can have it basically all around. So I definitely advise people to just create those kits, right?
And Wayward and I talk about
Before
this all the
UGC.
time, right? There's two business models in Sandbox, really. There's the people who do these really cool, gigantic, let's say it's a dragon, right? And they sell
Right.
it for 2,000 sand, and it's beautiful and wonderful. But like, you're not going to get a lot of people who have the money to buy a 2,000. And like that bus, you can actually go inside and jump out the back, and you can have your spawn point sit in it. So if you wanted to do a Fortnite style game, right, you could have that fly across the top of the screen and jump out the back of it. Now, obviously, it's shorter than a Fortnite bus, but to go back to the earlier point, like Wayward and I believe that like the trash cans, the pizza boxes, the couch, the you know, the street light, the stop sign, the walls, like those are things that people need to build out their games that ultimately there isn't a ton of in the marketplace. And so if that's not there, like we want to be the team that says, hey, for just a couple bucks you can buy this, and count on the volume of things moving, right, as sort of our business model. So then like if you, those are animated, so like if you hit there's like a play button under there to like, it's probably like idle one.
That one smile face. There's a smiley face.
Yeah. And so like, you know, once again, like a dumpster fire, maybe not as much utility as a street pole or stuff, but I do agree that we think that we see like the kits and stuff being
no, that is super useful because you've got a normal version of it too. So
right
there you go.
I have the normal version and then like the
silly version,
or the true dumpster fire side of all of us, right? So, but yeah, no, we're in agreement. I just think until everything opens up and you get all these builders in there, you know, it's hard because there's not as much. There's just not as many people building right now as I think there even was a couple months ago. And there's, you know, we're seeing less emails and asks from external partners, I think, as people are a little bit wary about where Web3 is going. But I think that's the time to double down and put together
there's the King Phil on the chair that you were talking about earlier.
Oh, in the bottom, I had to look.
Oh, there you go. Let's see.
I had to do the L for left. So this was an asset that Wayward made for a game jam. That's my avatar in the Sandbox. But at the end of the game, there's a face hugger. It's like, I think it says like open present or something. And this, spoiler alert, this creature jumps out and like latches onto his face on the you get this box, and then guess what? The king's dead. Anyway, but this is I think where the dynamic is really good and it's fun for us is that you know, we get together, we ideate, we say, okay, what do we want to do? What do we want to make? You know, Wayward's really good and really fast at making those assets, and then she can throw them back my way, and I can drop them into Blender or Light Tracer and turn them into, you know, animations or pieces of content, or we use them within game to say, hey, the storyline is going to drive to this moment. And instead of just having the dialogue box tell the story, let's visually have that moment be an animation and use the either like the door or a toggle behavior thing, and then have it play out visually. Because I think wherever you can show instead of tell is better storytelling, especially in the Sandbox. So
yeah, definitely. Like you have so many nice assets here. 2 questions before we continue. I love this one.
That's also like I would say that's
this is like 30, so like Rick and Morty.
Tall. It's like 30 feet tall. Like you lose the scale, but like one of those beer cans is about the size of an avatar. Like the thing is so stupidly oversized. Like I think Wayward and I, that's the one thing is everything I make has to be, you know, 30 or 40 feet tall, and she tends to make these very tiny, cute things, right? Like it's
always telling me to double it.
Yeah, double it. Bigger. Double it. Make it. Yeah.
So who made the king, the Phil?
So the avatar was me. That was actually how we became friends. Is I think she saw my Phil avatar, but then she put the crown and built the chair and did all the animations with it. Like my very first avatar was this is kind of like a homeless bum looking dude, right? That's everybody else made themselves look so nice and cool, and I was like, no, my guy's he's got yellow pit stains and the
reason I asked that question is because like I love it and I love the style. Were you inspired by anything, or is this just your style?
Oh my god, I mean, that everyone is a product of their inspiration, right? At the end of the day, like behind my head there's a Garbage Pail Kids poster. Like I've got a atom bomb tattoo. I love the dead milkmen. You know, I just went to go see Weird Al in concert 2 weeks ago. Like, if it's gross and strange and you know, 80s professional wrestling, I think Wayward's so sick of hearing me talk about Hogan and Macho Man and you know, all this stuff. But I'm old. I'm like in my 40s, so I grew up in the 80s. Truly, like, grew up pop culture wise, Ninja Turtles, like all those kind of things.
Yeah.
So you know, that's what drives like if you go in look at that creator on the right, but second to last row, far right bottom, on the second to last row, one more down.
Oh, this one.
That one. Yeah. Okay. That was the first thing I basically made outside of the test, right? And was this character as my personal sandbox avatar. He's holding a broken bottle, like he's gonna stab somebody with it, right? Like, it doesn't make any sense, but Wayward's like, oh, this is cool. I like this guy.
Yeah. Just over a year ago, I think, a year and a couple months, first thing I ever said to him was, your avatar's funny. And then
and there you go.
It definitely is.
Business. Let's start a business.
Mm-hmm.
I think you know, everything that's meant to be, like, I really believe that everything that's meant to be happens as it should be, you know. And it's like, you guys, it's like fate, right? You found each other and now you created clever whatever. I have no idea how you guys came up with the name, but
well, because he asked me,
we'll talk about that.
He goes, what should we name our business? And I was like, whatever's clever, dude. And he's like, all right, well, let me see.
And I was like, whatever's clever's taken, so how about we reverse it and call it clever whatever? Yes.
Love it. And you guys have a website and everything, right? Whatever?
Clever whatever dot games, yeah.
And this is not you guys.
No, that's not us.
Dallas Fletcher, who is, I'm sure, a wonderful individual. Clever whatever dot game. Yeah.
There you go. Games.
There you go.
If you look at the portfolio, there's like just a ton of renders and stuff. I think the other thing that Mandy and I like doing is mixing real life photos with look at the baby getting eaten. We like mixing real life photos with voxel art. I think there's something kind of, you know, funny and charming and strange about the mix of those two things. You know, there's a ton of Paco work here that I haven't posted yet that I want to make sure we get up. Our game maker fun thing, right? Like, there's just something about the mix of those two that I always find a little bit charming. And then you've got farts, obviously. There's a Fortnite bus in action, so anyway.
Every now and then I'll remember to do that. But yeah, these are obviously great, and I know you want to go into showing off some of your process and how this kind of works. So we'll kind of segue into that. I do want to show some of the other assets. Do you have an asset name that I could find your profile, Wayward, before we go into the rendering topic?
If you could just type in Commodo Dragon, and it'll pull that one up, and then from there you can get to my...
Did I spell this wrong? Commodo? There you go.
Oh, no, just commode, like a toilet, commode.
I'm just going with dragon.
Okay. Wait, but then you're gonna get so many.
Yeah, like search surfer. See, that's always the one that I use. Yeah. If you search surfer.
Surfer.
Yeah.
The search isn't that great, to be honest.
There you go.
Okay. That was one of the ones they minted for me.
So you've had a couple minted, I guess, huh?
Just 4.
There you go. Just 4. You got the fortune teller. These are awesome.
They're so good. Like I look at some of this and I'm always impressed by the nuance and the detail.
And how long do you think like this one took you, realistically?
Maybe a couple hours.
Couple hours. Does that include like the idea too, or like does the idea come in while you're like building? Like for me to like just animate, I'm just thinking myself, right? To animate this, it would probably take me a day.
Yeah. No, me too. I struggle with. Sometimes there's things that I'm like, how do you do it so quickly? Like, what's the secret sauce?
I don't know. I'll focus in on, like, when I get really excited about something, I'll focus in on it. But then, like, if I'm not as excited, I'll switch from project to project and go back and forth on things.
That is awesome. You are definitely an inspiration to all of us.
And I think what you do really well that I think I struggle with too is making motion look realistic, right? And I think that there are ways that you want to ease in and ease out in like as your hand moves or whatever it is moves to make it look correct. That I even doing a walk cycle, like I was working on a giant walk cycle the other day, and I was like, I need your help. I need you to explain to me how you're doing this, because it'll take me an hour. Something that'll take her 10 minutes. So.
Yeah, that is one thing that I am like super I don't want to say obsessed. Like I'm super I have to make sure that things look like they have gravity to them. Like if something falls, I want to make it look like it bounces, especially like you gotta take physics into the equation when animating to make it look more real. Like if something falls, if something sways, like the way it's all gonna move.
Did you actually sell 3 of these?
I gave one away, but I sold.
That's crazy.
That paid my rent. Like this is
crazy.
How I don't live in a tiny little town anymore in the middle of nowhere. Like that gave me the money. I mean, it's not like life-changing money to some people. Right. But that gave me the money to be able to.
And this is like when. Like depends on when you sold it, right? If you sold it when sand was like 5.
It was back when sand was, I think, either like 50 cents or $1.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't make as much as I would have back when it was like, at its most, which, every now and again I'll kick myself in the butt for it. But like, it is what it is. And I made profits, and that's just how you just have to not look at the what ifs.
And to see like how picky Sandbox is, out of 141 assets, only 4. And out of all these assets,
well, it's not just mine that they have to look at. There's so many other extremely talented artists like in the creator fund that are way better than I am. So I'm lucky I got 4 picked.
Yeah,
I was just going to say, I think that band in particular, I think what's interesting to look at is the progression of Sandbox talent, right? Like when Mandy minted that, no one had done anything like that before. I think that's why Sandbox sparked to it. And now there's a million things that have looked at that, and I don't want to say copied, but use it as inspiration, to do their own thing. And
it's just a matter of time until somebody else, whether or not they've seen my band, somebody else is going to make a band. Like it's just how it is. And it's good to have variations and have choices on the marketplace. Like some people would get all like, oh, well, I already made a band, or they already made a band, so I can't make one. Like, no, make one.
Yeah, I mean, people get like that too. But like, I definitely agree with that concept. Like, if somebody made as a creator, like if Panda Pops, for example, shout out to her, love her as well.
She's wonderful.
If she is. And if she made a YouTube video or something that I enjoyed, I'm like, oh, that's really good. I'll create my interpretation of the same thing. And some people will learn better with her explanation. Others will learn better with my explanation. And it's just everybody. My kind of thing here is I think you're right. Everybody should just create, right? And it's just
don't
show them what you got.
Don't be worried that somebody else already did it, because the world needs variation. The world needs different versions of the same thing. I don't know. You know what I mean?
I want this. I want this.
Well, it's free. You can click that little plus button. Add it to your experience.
I will make sure to use that in one of the game jams. Alrighty, cool. These are awesome. If you guys want to check it out, make sure you search for Surfer to find the profile. I think it's going to be easier to find profiles in the future, but for now,
hopefully,
I think we've heard rumor that the Creator Fund teams will I don't know, be called out, but we'll have some sort of a way that you can see whether or not the assets when everything's public was done by a Creator Fund person or not, which I think we appreciate, because there is a large amount of rigor, let's say, that goes into. Oh, actually, check out Uncle Longlegs, the bottom row, second one. This was one of my favorite things. That's
what solidified our friendship.
Yeah, because she would. Well, you tell him.
Yeah, well, I told him, I was like, yeah, I really like your gross, stinky looking avatar. I wish I had the confidence to post the gross things I make. And I showed him this, and he's like, post it. Just do it. Just submit it. Doesn't matter. Oh
And
no.
then I think you asked me what should we name it, and I was like Uncle Longlegs, and then at that point it was like, all right, done. So anyway, I don't know.
Yeah.
Chrome was like, that's enough of the assets. Get into Phil and his Blender skills. So Phil, I know you wanted to show us some of your Blender stuff that you do, and I know I'm pretty much excited to seeing what you do there. And I think people will love it as well. Let me try to bring you up on the solo. There you go.
Yeah, and so I guess it's interesting because Sandbox lends itself much easier to light tracer than to Blender, right? I think it's that workflow is a lot easier to get animations to work and things like that. I have really struggled in talking to other animators that they've also struggled in trying to figure out how best to import, because the way the action strips work, the way animation works within Blender is really clunky with the Sandbox assets. So, you know, I'm sure you've noticed in Vox Edit, there's local and global movement,
right?
And they basically
the local doesn't work.
Yeah, they're like don't touch the local. The problem is that it's actually recording local data for all of those assets, and so when you go into Blender, what you'll see is each one of these pieces. It's not rigged. It's not like it's a traditional asset where it's rigged and you've got weight paintings. They're all an individual thing with both local and global direction, and they're separate pieces. And so as soon as you try to like put an action strip together or some basics, I really struggled in trying to do it, to the point now where I basically pre-make all of my animations. So like, let's say like this one's is actually, I'm going to open up the other Blender file because it's a little bit easier to look at. So like this background was built in Voxel Max and then just scaled up, right? And then repeated.
And Voxel Max, for those who don't know, is an iPad voxel software, correct, Phil?
Yeah, and it's relatively inexpensive. And I actually think we had dinner with Alex from Sandbox. I think he had a hand in actually making it. I don't know who the programmer was, but think of it like a sort of a pared down or a simplified version of Vox Edit for an iPad. And so it's really nice for designing the front buildings or dividing or creating landscapes or things like that. And then I've scaled this up, right? Just you know, hold down S and scale it up and made this environment, right, to put the pieces in. But as you look at this, like if you watch, if I go into camera mode here, I tend to do this probably the worst way that animators do, is I tend to actually do the story relatively linearly and the camera just jumps. So as you open up here, I'll hit play. I don't know if you guys can see this. So you've got this pigeon, and I think this is a Wayward asset, right?
And could you hit pause for a second?
Yep.
So these are individual assets. You drag them into Blender, and to bring this scene together, you have the camera angle, right? You're moving the camera, but the pigeon is on its own animation, right? Yep. And then you have the alpaca the bras racing cart just move over. So you're pretty much producing like a scene, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same as anyone else. The difference being, instead of animating in Blender, I'm pre-animating in Vox Edit a lot of this action. So like this pigeon's head going up and down, this was animated in Vox Edit, exported as a GLTF, and imported into Blender. Now you can see that little white cross, that white T there, that's the focal point. So you're sort of pulling the focus back as the camera sits, right? So what the impression you get is that you are you're focused on the background, right? And then you drop into the focus on the pigeon, you see the action there. And then what I end up doing is I get a loop. Like, so you could do this with a walk animation, and the card bounces up and down. And you can see it happening before the camera's even looking at it. I will loop this action and then move it across you see how everybody's bouncing, but they're not actually going anywhere. The camera doesn't see this, right? You're cheating it.
Of course.
And then I'm moving them across the y-axis, and it gives you the illusion that the animation is that it was built to run. So it's a static walk with this loop. And then, you know, as you look, once again, the beauty of doing film is that this pigeon works really well in the shot right there. You know, we rack back focus, we see the pigeon drop back down, and I tend to overshoot. And then guess what? he moves to a different spot because later on in a shot I need him somewhere else, right? Like, I think this is a nice part of Blender is you know, people you would never know, and then the camera at this point is maybe looking at the feet in super.
Did we have full render on it, or?
Oh yeah. So like as far as like you want to watch this start to finish?
Yeah, is it too long?
No, it's like a trailer for a pack a game. It's like
oh, there we go. Wait. It's literally just pull it up. Let me just pull this up real quick.
And you can see now I've got the post effects that I've added to it. I've got you know, like that's a light beam that's actually baked in. You can't see it when you're in non-render mode. You know, these rack focuses. I'm big on like super macro focus with like a low f-stop or whatever, so that you get like the really background blur. And then I also like when the camera gets a little drunk, right? I think in the next shot you'll see we're kind of, the camera's a little bit over, right? It feels a little bit more natural in the sense of like it's sort of moving, trying to track the asset.
You know what's funny? There was an asset that I did, and I saw a. It's funny because like, the movement of it was similar to the asset that I made for the Sandstorm hub with the alpaca there was. I made it like loop around, and it looks like it's almost going to tip over. I don't know if you've seen it.
Yes, no, I know it's awesome, and that's the thing. It's like being able to take those Sandbox assets and use them in renders is awesome. I wish there was a better way, and if anyone has any suggestions on an easier way to bring assets in and use the animations less as individual assets, I would love to hear it. But yeah, I know exactly the asset you're talking about. It's awesome.
Would you be and this is, I know this is a team thing, but I know Wayward already streams. Do you stream, Phil, or are you planning on streaming and telling and showing the community how you make all this stuff?
Do you think people would be interested in it?
Oh yeah, man, I'd watch every single episode.
I mean, I don't know. I think at the end of the day, I'm like, I want to provide value. I think I'm going to get, I don't want to say stuck. I'm going to start streaming more with P.A.K.as, right? As we do more like competitive gaming, and we just did a mini game that Seb retweeted and then pitched in 10,000 sand for a competition, like totally unexpected yesterday or the day before. So we're super stoked about it. So I'll be doing more of that streaming. But as far as how-tos go, I finished a 2.5 hour long, they're in like multiple sections on Vox Edit, right? On how to take P.A.K.as and animate them. But I've never done a Blender related tutorial. I think it's a little intimidating knowing how good some of the Blender YouTubers are. But yeah, I don't know. Like it might be interesting. I mean, I would love to share. I love teaching and walking through this stuff. I just didn't know if anybody would care.
Oh yeah, this is kind of a hot topic right now. People see these trailers, you know, for Sandbox and whatnot, and they wanna do that for their games and whatnot. And having somebody on stream right now who has actually done this and knows how to do it is so valuable, I think, to the chat too. Chat, are you with me? You need to say your piece here so we can convince Phil.
And know that this entire animation project, including like the edit and stuff, was less than a week, right? Like it actually goes relatively quick. And also I do everything in Eevee when it's with Sandbox assets, right? Like things in cycles look a lot nicer, obviously. But I don't think you get the value necessarily. Like if you, I mean, let's take a different shot here. If I switch over, and I'm running a 3060 Ti with 64 gigs of RAM in this computer. Now, obviously, Cycles has a much nicer, more cinematic look, and I could have rendered out these frames in Cycles, but I tend to stick in Eevee because then you can render it out pretty much on any, even if your computer is like an absolute turd. You know, Eevee's a really easy way to build out the Sandbox assets. So. Yeah, you know what? I appreciate the support, and maybe I'll do a tutorial in the next video that I put together, as long as I'm not under a deadline and I'm rushing to.
Yeah, no. If you read the chat, I think the key thing that I've seen in our community is everybody's so open to learning and sharing, and you know, I try to put in anything that I have in terms of whatever is new that I can add in, and that maybe others don't. And this is definitely an area I don't think anybody has touched in our community yet. So I think it'll be super valuable.
And Wayward and I love like the idea of education and helping others is like the foundation of Web3. Like I don't know why you'd withhold, because when people can build on what you've done, then you get better as well. So yeah, like I'm a big fan of that side of it. So
yeah, like I put out a tweet today saying like, what was your first asset? Because I found my first asset when I first started Vox edit. It's this. I don't know if you guys seen my Twitter on it, but it's this. It's this peacock
bird, right?
pigeon.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's a peacock pigeon turkey, right? That's what Maddox called it, and it was like one of the worst things ever. But my whole topic on it was like, I want to see like your first asset that you've made, and I want people to actually go back and recreate their first asset like 12 months later, now that it's been 12 months, right, or so. And just seeing those people evolve, right, it's just amazing. And I think it's the community that's making this happen.
That's mine.
Oh, there you go.
That's the first one I did. Was a farting guy in Magic of Voxel, and then I think I did the Simpsons house next.
That is awesome.
And then sorry for the mild nudity. I had a bad dream where I barfed in Target, and then I did this toilet creature. But yeah, like everything I did started out in Magic of Voxel first before I moved into Sand. I love that tool. I love buildings, right? Like I love the Ghostbusters house. Like I love the idea of making buildings. Wayward,
do you have your first like one?
I do. Although,
do you want to share it?
Oh man, so it was just SpongeBob fan art.
Oh, that was like your first one?
Yeah, I tried to make handsome Squidward. Oh, let me see. Let's see if I can find it real quick.
Yeah, I do think you bring something important though, which is go back and revisit, right? It reminds you of the progress you've made, and it reminds you that practice is how you get better at things. And I think when people get discouraged, they feel like they've hit a plateau. Go back and look at that earlier stuff, right? And it should be inspiring to say it's worth the time to stick with it.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So I know we still have a little bit more time, and I want to talk a little bit more about, while Wayward is pulling that up, I want to talk a little bit more about Clever Whatever. So you guys are an official studio now, and right, that's legally, you guys are a studio.
Yeah, not only legally, we got a corporate card. I told Wayward, I'm like, someone gave us a corporate business card that says Clever. It's like, it's terrifying and exciting at the same time. So
yeah, and so are you guys like, you guys are taking on projects now? Are you guys looking to hire voxel artists, or are you looking for more projects to kind of show what you got?
Yeah, so we've been pitching a ton. We've had some. We've been very fortunate to get invited into some of the big names in Sandbox, some of the external IP to pitch, and had great conversations. I think it's been interesting though how little and I don't mean this as a knock to Sandbox, but not every one of those partners understands what Sandbox can do and what they can build, and trying to help educate as much as it is to sort of pitch creatively to say, hey, I know you want to do X, but the limitation is Y, and here's how we can do that. Has been a journey that's been interesting. And I think all my 20 years in advertising and doing nothing but pitching creative ideas and producing has been helpful background and in working with them. But I think our goal is to grow. And so we passed on a lot of jobs in the last 3 or 4 months. And the hope is that we can sort of take some of them on, but we do need help. Like anybody else, we need to be able to scale. So if you've got the chops, like send me or Wayward a note, like either on Discord or on Twitter or whatever, like send the portfolio, because there's enough work sort of pending out there that we are definitely going to need the help. And the only ask is that, if you come in there with a good attitude, you have to like farts and burps and all of that, right? Like I think being able to not take yourself too seriously is important for us, because we want it to be fun. We want the work, the work is stressful because it's work, but we don't want there to be tension. We want to make sure everybody is like having a good time while they're working on it.
Yeah,
and I have to be able to vent to you after a few mimosas.
Let's go.
But yeah, we'd love to.
I can't find the file, or I'm trying to, and I think my family got here early, so I'm gonna be muted for a bit.
Yeah, no worries. And one other thing that I just lost my train of thought when you said that.
Well, I guess my question is, what are you guys seeing? Are you seeing more? I mean, I think we've seen a downturn in the number of of asks, and I think as we talk to other builders, we're hearing a similar story, in that people who were maybe more bullish to build 4 months ago have gotten a little bit nervous about, investing. But at the end of the day,
Right.
when Sandbox goes live, there's going to be 166,000 plots that need an experience on them. So
you actually touched a very good point, because that's kind of what I was going to bring up. So I think if things go to plan this week with everything that I'm doing, next week we're actually releasing our proposal system to our beta users on our NFT site, and where you as a studio or other brands can come on our site and say, hey, I have this plot that I want to build, or have this 10K project. And you, the builders and the studios, can go in there and bid against yourselves. And the brands can actually see your portfolio, because you're building your portfolio on Sandstorm. And this is where we think it's going to be very valuable, to be able to easily find builders and studios that can work together and connect them with brands, right? That's our whole kind of mission. And in terms of numbers, yes, the numbers have definitely dropped in terms of asks, and it's just normal because of the market. But there is, no doubt that I think it'll pick right up as soon as it starts getting more attention. And we wouldn't be as invested as we were if we thought it didn't, right? So we're building this whole infrastructure to be able to support that mechanism, where you guys are chatting on there, you guys are finding groups and finding work, and in between, Sandstorm is providing the service. Obviously, it's going to take a commission out of it, but that's just pretty much where we want to be. We want to kind of farm out that work to the builders, right? And have you guys kind of take it and run with it.
Yeah, I think there's a gap right now in the connection between the studios and the IP holders, right? Yeah, there really is. It's an education gap, but also just a resource gap. I think everybody that has the skill set to build and box edit and game maker is busy, right? And it was nice to be able to pass on some jobs in the past, but in the future, right? If you want to sustain and grow, you want to be able to take on more work. And so I do think that idea of a platform where, hey, this is the hub you go to, and the competition and the bidding against is a healthy part of it. Not everyone likes that idea.
Right.
But I do think the transparency is good for artists. It probably, once again, I'm going to be super candid, I think it benefits US artists less than some overseas artists, but it does help to right set the cost basis, so people are fairly compensated. But
there's also quality, right? That's what we want to make sure, because, for example, a U.S. firm or let's say a brand that's a U.S. brand may want to not work with somebody out of seas. Maybe they want to work somebody in state just because of communication, time zone, whatever it may be. But it's nice to see that brands will come in and be able to find that talented work. Because right now the other issue is, if I'm a brand, where do I start, right? How do I find a builder? How do I trust that builder? I'm going to pay that guy up front. Like, we take care of all that, and it's like we want to build that trust, being that middleman. Like, hey, everybody trusts us, so brands trust us, builders trust us. We're going to hold on to this escrow money until your build is done, and then once your build is done, we make sure the builder gets what they want and the brand gets what they need. And based on that, you guys, let's say, are a studio, you guys become a preferred studio badge, and brands will be able to see that. So that's where we're kind of headed with that. But I would definitely love to see you guys on there as well, as we start to bring on more work for the space.
Yeah, if you guys could crack I was just talking to their studio about this. The taxes side of it's difficult, right? As far as if you hire overseas, or anyone outside of the States, if you're in the States, like, how do you make sure that they're compensated fairly and you're aware of like what the rules are in their countries? And I think these are things navigating as a business owner that's really tough. And it's like, it's not a lot of crypto's hard enough as it is, let alone labor laws, let alone, paying in crypto. Like, I think it's been an interesting challenge for all of us. And if there's ways you could either simplify or help navigate that, I think there'd be a lot of people who would be very quick to say, yes, I want a part of that. Whatever the commission is, it's worth it for us, because it takes the headache away from the payroll and the processing side of it.
Yeah, definitely. And for hiring needs too, right? Sometimes maybe Clever, whatever, may not need 100 voxel artists today, but they may need it for 3 months, right? And then that will be it, right? So you use them for 3 months and they move on to another team, another project. But yeah, so definitely excited to see what you guys. I mean, everybody loves you. I love you, and you guys are just awesome, and I want to see what you guys are going to be doing in the future. You guys are already pretty much home run, hitting everything out of the park. And anything else you guys want to bring up before we kind of close off?
No, I just want to say thank you. Thanks for the platform. Thanks for listening. The kind words aren't necessary, but obviously we appreciate it, and we appreciate you. And I think I feel very fortunate to be able to work with such nice people all the time. So.
Oh yeah, this is just the best work experience I've ever had in my life. Like, I've never enjoyed a job like I do now. And the people are a big part of it, including you.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, I do have to say nice things to people on the show when they come up on here, but for you guys, it's not the case. I mean, I actually do really love you, and I love talking to you guys, but and then thank you guys for coming on here. You guys make me nervous. I can't even talk right now.
But, oh my gosh, no.
It's love everywhere. It's love all around. And thanks to Slaterade for his behind the scenes work. I think he does quite a bit of magic that I don't know if he always gets the credit for, but he's been a great partner too.
We try to shout out to him every now and then, but yeah, he's just incredible, super understanding and hardworking.
And it was great meeting both of you in person in New York. Like, it's got to happen again.
Yeah, definitely. I am super, super stoked about it. Alrighty, guys, that is Clever Whatever with Phil, FTW. Is that for the win? Does that stand for the win?
It stands for From the Warehouse. It's a Kids in the Hall skit, but it's too complicated, and I just go by Phil. So
we'll make a slideshow presentation explaining it at some point.
I will be looking forward to it. Thank you, Phil and Wayward, for joining me on the show. Chat, thank you guys for sticking around and listening to us and checking out what these guys have to offer. We will be raiding Panda, apparently. So let's stay in for that. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Wayward, Phil, for joining me. Look forward to, and we'll keep track of what you guys will be doing.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We're going to get that raid set up. Say hi to send lots of hearts to Panda. I know Slater Raid is doing it behind the scenes. I have no idea if the raid has actually been initiated or not.
Let me look. Oh, yeah. I think it's been initiated.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Wait, no, he canceled it.
What?
Come on, Slater Raid, you can do it.
I take back.
You said so many good things about you. Exactly.
Take it all back. You're the worst.
Oh. I'm gonna leave you guys with a couple of these.
Heck yeah.
Let's go. It says rating with. There you go. I think we rated. All right.